All right, if you're taking Edexcel AS Chemistry, you know exactly why we're here today. We are tackling one of the absolute most common, high-stakes practicals in Paper 3, determining the molar volume of a gas. I am incredibly excited to guide you through this explainer because, look, we aren't just going to talk about what to do at the lab bench. We are going to look at exactly how to translate that messy lab work into guaranteed, rock-solid exam marks. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our lab to exam pipeline for today. We'll be hitting up number 1, the magic number theory. 2, inside the lab for the method. 3, crunching the numbers. 4, what goes wrong. And finally, 5, the examiner's checklist.
Starting right off with section 1, the magic number, the theory behind it all. Okay, before we even think about touching a single piece of glassware, we need to know what our target is. And we are hunting for this exact number, 24.0. By definition, the molar volume is the volume occupied by exactly 1 mole of gas. And honestly, here's the amazing thing about chemistry. At room temperature, which is 298 Kelvin, and normal atmospheric pressure of 100 kilopascals, 1 mole of literally any gas occupies approximately 24.0 decimeters cubed. That right there is our target.
Now, to actually prove that 24.0 number in real life, we're going to use a very specific reaction. We are reacting solid magnesium with aqueous hydrochloric acid. That's going to produce aqueous magnesium chloride and, crucially for us, hydrogen gas. Our entire mission here is to carefully trap that hydrogen gas, measure its volume, and then use that to work backwards and prove the molar volume.
Moving right along to section 2, inside the lab. Let's look at the method.
Quick safety check first, guys. Hydrochloric acid is highly corrosive, so goggles are an absolute must. And hydrogen gas? Very flammable, so keep those open flames far, far away. Now, here is the chronological step-by-step of what you'll actually do. First, you'll measure a known volume of your acid into a conical flask. Second, you accurately weigh your magnesium ribbon on a balance. Third, and I call this the high-stress moment, you add the magnesium to the acid and you attach your gas syringe immediately. Finally, you just wait for the reaction to completely finish, and you record the final volume of gas produced. So, the absolute crucial point here is understanding the why behind these physical actions. Because guess what? That is exactly what examiners test. Why do we need a tight bung and immediate sealing? Well, because every single millisecond that bung is off, hydrogen gas is escaping into the room, permanently ruining your final volume calculation. It's like leaving the front door open with the heat on. And why do we use excess acid? To absolutely guarantee that every single atom of our magnesium reacts completely.
All right, section 3, crunching the numbers. Time for the calculations.
I know calculations can feel a bit intimidating, but honestly, if you follow this exact 3-step pipeline, it becomes pretty much foolproof. Step 1, find the moles of your solid magnesium. You do this using its mass divided by its relative atomic mass, which is 24.3. Step 2, look at the balanced equation to find your mole ratio. Luckily for us, it's a beautiful 1-to-1 ratio, so your moles of magnesium perfectly equal your moles of hydrogen gas. Step 3, calculate molar volume by dividing your trapped gas volume by those moles. But hey, beware the universal tragedy of this practical. You absolutely must convert your gas volume from cubic centimeters to decimeters cubed first. Always, always divide by 1,000.
Now, what's really interesting here is the battle of the reagents. Magnesium is our limiting reagent. Because it runs out first, it completely dictates the total volume of gas produced. Hydrochloric acid, on the other hand, is deliberately placed in excess. It's just there to finish the job and make sure the magnesium has absolutely nothing holding it back.
Okay, section 4, what goes wrong? Let's talk about lab errors.
Examiners love making you play matchmaker between a problem and its elegant fix. So, got gas leakage? Simple. Check your apparatus is fully airtight before you start. Did you get way less gas than expected? Well, your magnesium probably had an oxide layer on it acting like a shield. You fix this by just cleaning the ribbon with emery paper first. Got reading uncertainty? Swap out your standard syringe for a high-precision digital one. Let's rapidly fire through some high-yield vocabulary that will totally elevate your written answers from good to excellent. When your repeated results are in really close agreement, they're called concordant. If your balance is consistently off by, say, 0.1 grams every time, that's a systematic error. But if human reaction time makes you attach the bong at slightly different speeds each try, well, that's a random error. Seriously, use these exact words in your paper.
And finally, section 5, the examiner's checklist. Time for exam preg.
Let's take a strategic behind-the-scenes look at what examiners actually want. Here is a classic, frequently asked past paper question to get us thinking like the person holding the red grading pen. Why is a gas syringe preferred over collecting gas over an inverted measuring cylinder in water? I want you to think about the physical properties of gas for just a second.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact mark scheme points you need to hit for full credit. First, some gases dissolve in water, which means your final volume reading would end up being falsely low. Nobody wants that. Second, a dedicated gas syringe simply has lower percentage uncertainty. And third, it just allows for a much easier, more direct and precise reading. Lock those 3 bullet points right into your memory.
All right, let's see how this builds into a classic 3-mark calculation question straight from the source. A student reacted 0.072 grams of magnesium, yielding 72 cubic centimeters of hydrogen. Calculate the molar volume in decimeters cubed per mole. Here's exactly how you grab those 3 marks without breaking a sweat. Mark 1. Calculate your moles of magnesium by dividing the mass, which is 0.072, by 24.3. That gets us 0.00296 moles. Mark 2. Remember our golden rule. Convert 72 cubic centimeters to 0.072 decimeters cubed. Mark 3. Divide your volume by your moles. 0.072 divided by 0.00296 gives us 24.3 decimeters cubed per mole. Boom. 3 easy marks.
Now let's step it up to a slightly trickier 4-mark question. 25.0 cubic centimeters of 2.0 mole per decimeter cubed HCl reacts with 0.10 grams of magnesium. Determine which reactant is limiting. Examiners frequently comment on students totally confusing this specific calculation, so let's break it down so you feel completely empowered to tackle it.
First step, find your moles of acid using concentration times volume. That gives us 0.0500 moles of HCl. Second, find your moles of magnesium. Mass over MR gives us 0.00412 moles. Now, apply the ratio from the balanced equation. 1 mole of magnesium needs 2 moles of acid. So, our magnesium needs 0.00824 moles of acid. Since we have a massive 0.0500 moles of acid available, the acid is in huge excess. Therefore, magnesium is our limiting reaction.
To make sure you absolutely do not fall into the same traps as past students, check out this direct feedback from Edexcel examiners. Mistake number 1, forgetting the volume conversion. The solution? Immediately write divide by 1000 next to any cm cubed value you see. Mistake 2, giving incredibly vague improvements like do it better. The solution is to be highly specific, like saying clean the magnesium ribbon to remove the oxide layer. Mistake 3, confusing limiting reagents. The solution? Always prove it using the mole ratio exactly like we just did.
All right, we are at the finish line. Let's lock in your rapid-fire last-minute revision checklist. Master your unit conversions. Definitely know your 24.0 constant. Memorize exactly why gas syringes are superior. Know your specific errors and their improvements. Practice those limiting reagent proofs. And of course, never forget your basic lab safety points. I'm going to leave you with one final, kind of provocative 4-mark challenge. If your experimental molar volume is 22.8 and the true value is 24.0, can you actually prove that the percentage error is exactly 5.0%? Grab a piece of paper, use the formula, the absolute difference divided by the true value times 100. Master that, and you are entirely ready to conquer this practical on your chemistry.